Yeah, I most likely do. I knew a lot of Legerios, though. I knew so many of them.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think this is now
we
stream.
are live. Yeah, I see it. It's up in the
All right.
corner.
So I will read our new mission statement. Happy Sundays at 7 with me, Mike, and Gary. Greater Waltham Recovery Solutions mission is to connect those with substance use disorder to recovery treatment services. Additionally, we offer scholarships to safe and effective sober living, educate the public through community outreach, and help veterans access premier quality treatment. Our organization embraces cultural diversity and is inclusive of every race, religion, sexual orientation, veteran status, socioeconomic background, disability, and age group.
Boom, nailed it. Nailed it. Great job.
And we also want to thank, on behalf of the Cacavaros, Tommy and Carrie Ann, for helping raise funds through the Wiffle Ball Challenge and all those who donated. We will be actually setting up a scholarship for them in the name of their friend, Mike Phillips. So thank you, Cacavaros, and all who have been donating, and we're really in the works to help people get scholarship to sober living.
Thank you, Tommy and Carrie Ann. Thank you for all that you do. Thanks for raising funds. And yeah, we have some money. I'm the treasurer of the group, so I know what our account looks like. We do have some money for scholarships. We were able to give a partial scholarship, emergency partial scholarship this week. So we're grateful we have some money in our account to do so. So please continue to donate. Right now, boxing for recovery is on pause, but we're looking for locations, indoor locations. So if you know of any, please let us know. Send a message to myself, Jessica, or any of the team members. But we do have some money in our account. We're starting to work on an application process. So once we're able to take on some scholarships, we'll let the public know and people can apply and go through that whole process. But we're excited to be scholarshiping people for sober living, safe, reputable sober living. So please donate. Our Venmo is at Recovery Solutions. So at Recovery Solutions, you can donate. And once again, we're going to start other ways to raise funds as well.
And other services we're still doing. We're still getting people into treatment. Mike's nonstop every week calling him. He places people, and still offering recovery coach services. And am I missing anything else?
Yeah, family consulting, connection to interventionists, things like that. Whatever really recovery resources you need, we're here, and we're here to plug you in. It doesn't have to be just detox, residential, halfway house, IOP, anything, even just an individual therapist. We have plenty of resources. You know, we go throughout our day accumulating resources. So please reach out to us. MAT, also Jessica works for an MAT provider, so we can get you in on MAT regimen or whatever it is you need. Just reach out. 978-473-5210. That's my direct line. And whatever you need, just let us know. So our guest tonight, excited to learn a lot from this gentleman. He too was from the greatest city in America, possibly the world. A fellow Revere native. we made it out of Revere clean and sober. Who would have thought? But this is Gary Langis, and he's a pioneer for the harm reduction world, and really did some groundbreaking stuff when it comes to that. I read your bio, did a little research, and
you did the 1 second thing.
Okay, yeah.
It was right there.
And there he is. There's Gary. Gary, I love to start it off. All of us, whether we've been impacted directly or indirectly, have been impacted by substance use disorder or mental health in some form or fashion. So tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your addiction and recovery story first.
All right, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Because I'm having a little audio breaking up. I don't know if you can hear me, that's fine. I talk to myself all the time, so that's fine. And I missed a little of it. I'll tell you, I'll tell you, how my journey's gone. It's gone pretty good, to tell you the truth. I mean, I'm alive. I still have a pulse. That's a good sign. Every morning I wake up, I have a pulse. See you later. I'm off.
Good way to think.
You know, like like a lot of folks that have used these substances, you know, I started early on, like back in the mid 60s, like when it was like it was different. It was like, yeah, it was really different than it is today. You know, like when I go out there today, it's you know, like it's like a whole different world in the drug using world. And you know, I made it through high school. It took me 14 years and 2 summer schools to get through high school. I didn't really go on to further my education in school. What I did is I continued my education into the drug using world, and where I ended up in a lot of places that I never ever dreamed. You know, I mean, I grew up in Revere, like Mike said. You know, just a normal family. We didn't have a lot, but we lived in a nice place. We lived on the water down next to the river, and it was just a beautiful place. And the year I graduated high school, by the time I graduated high school, I was making frequent trips to New York City, like 3 times a week. And I was bringing drugs back from Harlem. And that's because I was like an innocent looking little white kid. I didn't really, like, you know, draw a lot of attention, and I never got caught. And I was able to do that for a long time. And you know, and I thought that's the way that my life was going to be. I was going to be like, you know, the guy with the box of, you know, shoe boxes of money and dope, and I had nothing to worry about. And that's not the way the story usually goes for us. You know what I mean?
Right.
I just, yeah, I'll tell you, like at the end, I was just walking around downtown Boston, the combat zone, like in the 80s, cold, shivering, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. I didn't have too much of a hustle left. I would, you know, like I was pretty sick most of the time, and I was rescued. You know, like because I had friends that, like, you know, like they had been in recovery, right? But before that, you know, like before that, when I used to hang around town and I had hit, like, you know, like what I could say, you know, it's a bottom. I don't know, it's not the pits, but you know, being homeless down in Boston, and I was hanging around Boston City Hospital. I was using down in the tunnels in the hospital and stuff like that. It was a pretty lonely place to be. I got caught one day down in the hospital, and I got caught by like one of the employees that they knew what I was doing right away. They knew what I was doing. I was shooting dope.
Yeah.
And the guy, he didn't, like, you know, like get on me. He said, listen, he says, do you know about HIV and stuff? And that's when HIV was, you know, just rearing its head. You know, like I knew a lot of friends, my family members that had become infected through sharing syringes and stuff. And this guy gave me syringes, and, like, you know what? He kept on giving it to me when I go down there. And he introduced me to, like, you know, how to stay as safe as I could. Like there was no safety in anything I was doing, you know, like I used to the max. And you know, but I got what he was doing. The guy gave a shit about me, you know. And I started, you know, he started giving me syringes from my friends, you know, from my network of drug users. And I came back to Revere, and I used to, you know, pass out syringes. And I didn't think, you know, like I didn't think anything of it at the time. But the more I did
So
it, the
you
more
so
I
you were
heard it was
still using when
happening.
you were doing this?
Oh yeah, I was using. Like, yeah. And I was just, like, you know, like sharing syringes with my buddies that use, and my network and stuff like that. So
So we actually have a couple of
you know,
comments.
like,
Rory Fly said, hi all, thank you for always having a great Sunday informational meeting. So of course, Rory, we're happy you're here. And if you have any comments or questions, please interact with us. Nancy Patey says hello. Hello, Nancy.
Hi, Nancy.
Hey, Nancy, Petey.
Beth Jordan says hi. Judy Andrea said, great to see you, Gary. Someone from Greater Waltham Recovery Solutions says, hello, all. Could be a member of our team. You know, we have this great team. You knew Julie, you know, met Deb, myself, and Mike. We also have Linda Powell, Kim G, our social media superstar, who does all the posting and all the memes and articles. And we have Mandy McGowan, who's another, she's doing great work out at the Lowell shelter. And then we have the Wolf, Richie Evans. We
Wolf.
call him the Wolf. So that's our team too. Let's see who else commented. Teresa, Mike's mom, said, hi, everyone. Happy Sunday. Hi, Teresa.
Hi, Mom.
So
Mom's back to sunny Florida.
Oh my God. Of course, on the coldest day it is. It's freezing out. Can't even, it's depressing. The forecast for the week is depressing, but anyways.
You know what's depressing? She's about 45 minutes from Tom Brady's new stadium, and the Patriots are playing as bad as they're playing today.
He had to throw that. It's just, and then Chris Alba says, hi, everyone.
Hi, Chris. Hi, Chris.
So that's kind of how the commenting side of it works. I wait for there's a breath, and then I try to get them all in. But anyone watching, if you want to comment and have questions, please do so. So you were.
All right. You know, so I'll get back. So I was introduced to I was introduced to some prevention stuff before I was introduced to recovery, you know, and by doing the stuff I was doing, you know, I was meeting a lot of folks, and some of my friends, like, you know, they had asked me many times before if I wanted to go to detox, and I took them up on it one time, and I just went in. I said, you know what? I was interested in what I was doing as a volunteer, like with syringes, and it just gave me something, a little purpose. That's all I needed, just that little seed, that mustard seed of purpose, right? And so I went away. I went out to Worcester, and I was out there. Detox at the time was like 28 days, and I stayed there for 28 days, and you know, I got out and I didn't use for a long time. I didn't use for I went 12 years, complete program,
wow.
Everything, and you know, but like during that time, I found out that the stuff I was doing was, you know, other people were doing it, you know, out in Washington and down in New York. And I linked up with some of these folks, and they showed me how to start doing things like, not only, like distributing syringes, but how to write grants, how to work as a team member. And I was going to meetings. So I like, by going to meetings, I was learning a new way of life too. I was learning like how to read. I was learning how to like do a lot of the stuff that I skipped by in school, you know. And I did a lot of volunteer work. I remember my sponsor saying, you know, like he was doing volunteer with an HIV prevention group, and he asked me to come out with him one day, and you know, like, and I was sort of questioning, was I doing the right things? Was I enabling people with giving them syringes? You know, like, but wait a minute, you know, like somebody enabled me, and it wasn't enabling me to use; it was enabling me to survive
And keep safe.
And stay as safe as I could, you know. And I heard that message too. And so I had a lot of conflict in my head at first about doing a lot of this stuff, but I continue to do it, you know. And I met great people in the field of harm reduction that took me, you know, under their wing, taught me how to, you know, strategies, how to prevent HIV and hepatitis C, and how to dress, and like how to drain, dress, and care for abscesses and stuff like that. So like a lot of the work we were doing at the time was really low threshold healthcare. A lot of people looked down on us as like the antichrist of the time, you know, like, cause you know, like it was like we were enabling people. That's, you know, like every time I walk into a place, a lot of people would say that. And I did end up working, you know, in a couple of places. I worked at Meridian House, like, you know, early on. And then I was working at a detox but like, you know, when I come in, sometimes even the staff wouldn't even talk to me because of the stuff that I did, you know?
Wow.
And it was tough for a long time. You know, but I learned how to do that stuff, and I learned how to like advocate for other people. I never had a voice for myself, you know, and through like learning how to read and learning how to like speak at meetings, it taught me how to like come out of myself a little bit, and I was able to incorporate a lot of the things from everywhere that I learned in life to like to pass it on and to and share it with other folks. You know,
So
I
speaking of
survived.
that, you just got a comment from Jeffrey Nash saying
Oh my.
Gary Langis has been monumental regarding assisting me in my recovery. He is without a doubt a power of example that cares greatly for addicts that continue to suffer.
Jeffrey.
And also, I forgot a team member, Kara. I'm so sorry. She's one of our new team members. She's been great in helping out with the women's group at the shelter. So, Kara, I'm really sorry. Another member of our team. But what a comment Jeffrey gave
Kara.
you. You know?
Yeah, well, Jeffrey's you know, he's one of my dear friends from early recovery. I could put up 3 fingers of friends, right? Take away 1 and have 2, and he'd be in that 2.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
And Jeffrey was a big part of my recovery, like in the early days, you know, like and a lot of the stuff that he taught me about recovery. That, you know, I mean, I used to, Jeffrey, I learned from a lot of your mistakes, bro. Right?
That's it. A
And
wise man learns from the mistakes of others, right?
yeah, so
I
like
haven't had a one-liner like that in a while. That was a good one. That was a good one.
yeah. So Jeffrey left us about he went out to Las Vegas probably 10 or something years ago, but we stay in touch. We continuously stay in touch, and it's good to have friends like that from those early days of recovery, because a lot of those friends that our network, particularly, like we lost a lot of our friends from HIV and AIDS back in the day. Like in the early 90s, we lost a lot of people. We lost, like, you know, my sponsor and Jeffrey were like dearest of friends. You know, we lost him. We lost his wife. I lost my wife. You know, a lot of people we lost. You know, it's like, it was like, I compare it sometimes to the overdose crisis we have going on now. You know, like it's just people just disappearing every day. And, you know, and everybody, I'm telling you, everyone, like, I mean, I hear the names, you know, like Beth and Chris and stuff, they've all played a big part in my life, you know, and they've always supported me in the things that I've done. Like, even though I was like, you know, sometimes I can be a real shithead, a real bastard, you know, and they tell me when I am, and they tell me, you know, like when I'm doing the fucking wrong thing, and they tell me when I'm doing the good thing. So I'm blessed to have them in my life, you know. But you know, getting back to the work that I was introduced to, like I realized right away I wasn't cut out to work in a residential program. So like I started work on HIV prevention, and that's when I, you know, like really started to take off in my career and in my life. You know, running an advocacy program for homeless people with HIV and AIDS in Boston. I had a crew of case managers. We did all throughout Boston, like, you know, Dudley and downtown, all over Boston. We worked in all the welfare offices, and I did that for about 4 or 5 years, about 5 years. And then one of the first places that my sponsor had me volunteering at, like in 1990, I came up to work on it in 1997. It was like I left Boston. The big dig had started. I said, I'm getting out of here. And I came up and I started working around Lynn, Salem, the North Shore. And I continued to do the syringe exchanges I was doing. And, you know, it wasn't easy. It really wasn't easy doing that work. I mean, now you go they have programs. My office was the trunk of my car. That was what I had. Winter, rain, heat, snow was the trunk of my car, and that was it, you know. And I go into the cities like Lawrence and Lowell and Revere, of course, and Saugus and Cambridge, and, you know, just continued to do the work. You know, I did home deliveries for many years where I had people like, they'd call up, you know, they'd page me. We had the beep, that was back in the beeper days or the pager days. And, you know, and I go to houses. I go to a house in Lynn, and then all of a sudden I'd be shooting across Lynn to go to Marblehead to some big brownstone, like with a couple of Mercedes in the driveway.
My mom and my aunt live in Marblehead. So I
Yeah,
know
well, I'm not going to give up any names.
Yeah, right.
So they were looking to exchange their needles too over there.
Oh,
Well, of course they were.
Nice.
wow. I can't
Yeah.
even believe they it blows my mind. I didn't even
Oh
think-
yeah, and it
We
always,
used to
It always
wait
point
for the
out the
bus
difference.
down to Umana at the Umana school. We used to wait for the truck to come.
oh,
Where?
there you go with Adam.
Yeah,
Holyfield.
yeah.
Are
Yeah.
you talking about Revere now?
No, that was in
Boston.
Boston.
Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't know where you were talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a small world. You know, the recovery world, like we're big, we're all over the place. In the harm reduction world at the time, we're really small. And so like I used to hang around with all those guys, Adam and Monique, his sweetheart, and you know, like all the people doing the work around Boston. And we formed, you know, we formed an organization, all of us, you know, like we got a 501c. These are things that were like, I could never even dream about. You know what? Again, it took me 14 and a half years to get out of high school. Like I didn't get the education piece. I wish I did, because I'd be a doctor right now, but I didn't. And, but
So Kara actually, again, Kara, I'm so sorry. I missed you. She said, no worries about me missing her. I'm sorry. But she said, thank you for your message, Gary. I never would have made it without people like you advocating for harm reduction. It saved my life physically and psychologically. The importance of those like you cannot be understated. Wow,
Yeah.
Kara, thank you.
thank you, Kara. You know
That's
what?
amazing.
And a lot of it is like, you know, when we come around and we start reading the literature and we start reading like up on treatment and recovery, we learn about the stages of change. You know, like I used to hear like, oh yeah, you need to make the action steps. You need to do this. You need to do that. But there was one part of the stages of change. People who were in pre-contemplative stages of change. People that didn't want to hear about treatment. They didn't want to hear about recovery. So in harm reduction, I can meet them where they're at. It's a big gray area. And it might be a syringe. That might be the thing they need that day. Or
Right.
guess what? It might be a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And if that's what they need, that's what folks in harm reduction get them. We try to engage people, build relationships with them of trust and care. And, you know, I've been blessed that I've had so many folks come through my life. I see them today because, again, I started 30 years ago, probably something like that. So like I see a lot of people like 20 years later that I haven't seen for a long time. I was just in MassTAPP in Albany Friday, and I, you know, a guy was outside the exchange, you know, like, and he came out. He says, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I hadn't seen him for like 10 years. I asked him, I said, "How's your mother?" "Oh, she's in the shelter right now." You know, like, but I still see these folks. And like this person, like he was still using, but you know, like we still have that relationship. You know what? We still have the relationship that we could talk. I could find out about what's going on with his family and wish him the best. And a lot of the folks that I bump into now, some of them are in recovery. Some of them, like I've worked with people that lived in dumpsters, you know, and I bumped into one guy, oh man, at a Square One mall, and he was Christmas shop, and I hadn't seen him for 14 years.
Wow.
I had lived in a dumpster. I mean, he was really hard off, and he was with a 14-year-old little kid, a 13-year-old little kid. And he recognized me, started talking to me. He said, "This is my son." He says, "I did this." This guy did something. He turned his life around, and he was in recovery. He had a job. He started a family. These are like rewards that are like unbelievable.
That's incredible, though, that you saw him when he was living in a dumpster, and then you happened to run into him at the mall, Christmas shopping. Like, if
Christmas
that's
shopper, that's a miracle.
If that's
There's
like
so
a higher
many.
power, like that's I don't know what is. Like that's incredible.
There's so many.
Incredible.
You know, like, I mean, because my specialty was, when I used to do the advocacy, was working with homeless folks in Boston. And I mean, I was out to dinner one night, and it was a bunch of us. It was after a meeting, and the guy sitting next to me said, "Hey, you still doing that work you did?" I said, what work? He says, you know, Social Security, that stuff. I says, how'd you know I did that? He says, you don't recognize me? This guy was living out like, you know, he lived outside and he'd always come in smelling like a campfire. Now, this is years later, he's driving a Jaguar and he's an engineer. Like,
Nice.
you know, like those are the things that, like, you know, like we see, we witness this every day in harm reduction and in recovery. More
Right.
in recovery because, you know, you see the people that have crossed over and they're trying to make their lives better and they're trying to grow from it, you know.
Speaking of which, Katarina, well, her name is Kat. She just said amazing. She's someone who I've watched grow substantially over the past year. Kat, big shout out to you. Mike knows her.
Hi, Kat.
Incredible to see the change in someone. You know, it's just,
Yeah.
and you see what happens, and it's just,
Yeah.
it's amazing. And then Megan O'Leary said, thank you for all your services. Thank you for sharing, Gary. Any chance I get the opportunity to tune in on Sunday, I hear something I need to. Grateful. Thank you, Megan, for tuning in. Every Sunday we're here and hope you can get something every week. And then Keith Langis said, hey, Dad, congratulations. You're going to be a Grampy again.
Nice. Did he just break that news on live?
I guess so. Is he,
Look at that.
Just what I need.
That's what you need.
is he
More work, right? More work. Just when you.
Hey, let me tell you, and that's life. Hi, Keith. I love you. And congratulations. I was really down and out sick yesterday. I planned to go see him, but I couldn't do it. You know, I am getting I'm getting older. I'm not getting sicker, I think. But yeah, so I just couldn't make it. But I will be up to see you, buddy. Yeah, I've had, like, you know, like a lot of my stories about loss, you know, like my son could tell you, you know, like I've lost my wife after that 12 years that I went to meetings, I started to use again, and I used for 2 years, and I continued to work, you know, I was strung out, and my son Keith and my other son did an intervention with me. I got into a program, and I was able to stop using again. And I'll be forever grateful for my kids for doing that for me. But a year after that, like, you know, my youngest boy died, and you know, and I found him, and he had died from suicide, and it sucked. So I had to, you know, like, that's stuff we have to live through here, you know. But I've learned by coming to the programs that I've gone to that, like, you know, we have to prepare ourselves for things, and we have to, like, respond to them the healthiest way we can, you know. And you know, I was never alone through those times. I was never alone. There was always people that surrounded me. You know, there was people from recovery just were in my house all the time. People from harm reduction came from all over the place, you know, like to be with me. And you know, I'm friggin' grateful fucking dude, really, tell you the truth, because, you know, like, just because you stop using doesn't mean, you know, it's going to be all rainbows, butterflies, and unicorns, man. You know, we're still going to have life situations where we got to, like, you know, sometimes dig deep down and look for some strength, you know. And I've been fortunate enough to work with some of the best people, like, you know, both in recovery, you know, like I have an old dude sponsor that, like, you know, he's old, he's older than me, and I continue to use him today. And I have, like, my mentors at my work, you know, like, and most of them would, like, they're just great fucking people, you know. And now I'm in with, like, I've been working on the study that
Yep, the Mass Hill.
yes. So
Tell us about that.
all right. So I, you know, like, after doing all the stuff I did, now, like, you know, like, I think they think I'm an expert or something, right? So
You are.
so, well, I work with Boston Medical Center as their specialist on harm reduction, and our goal for the study is to reduce fatal overdoses in Kentucky, Ohio, New York, and Massachusetts by 40%.
Yeah.
So we're trying to reduce fatal overdoses by using some of the stuff that we have, some of the tools that we have now to fight overdose, like easier access to Narcan, easier access to medically assisted treatment. You know, we're trying to build these things in communities to where we can reduce some of the fatal overdoses, you know, and for me, that's my life's work. That's my life's work is to, like, you know, like prevent death, prevent viruses. You know, I've been working with viruses for 30 years, and it's and it really hasn't been pretty all the time, you know, and like, you know, people like Chris and the others that are still out there doing the outreach work and in the trenches day after day after day. During COVID, none of them stopped.
Right.
They were still in the tent cities. They were still going around to the buildings where they had to go. They were taking care of people. You know, I can't do that anymore because, like, my legs aren't as great as they used to be. They never were great, but, like, I mean, they, you know, I mean, it's hard for me to walk around sometimes. So I leave it up to the young bucks and the young buckettes, you know, like buckettes. Yeah.
I like that.
I
As
like
long as it's not Buccaneers, it's fine.
it. But yeah, so now, like, you know, I'm working with doctors and they're asking my advice. Like, that blows me away.
Blows my mind, right?
It's like I'm saying, wait a minute. Like, you're asking me, but they get it. You know, a lot of them get it. And so, like, this study we're on, you know, it's a large $400 million study for the 4 states, and it's exciting working with a lot of young folks. Now I'm working with a lot of, like, researchers that are young, and I don't tell them my life story. Like, I'm sure they might think that, you know, they probably assume that I smoked a couple of joints here and there, right? But you know, I don't tell them my story. I call myself I'm a like described researcher and opioid historian.
Oh, yeah, I like that. I like that.
Opioid
historian.
Yeah. So, like, you know,
user.
and I've had some great audiences. You know, I've been invited down to do, like, congressional briefings down in Washington, D.C. with representatives and senators and stuff like that. And I always describe myself, I'm an opioid historian. And they must look at me and say, wow, what a bright guy. He probably went to Brown University. No, I went to Revere High School.
Revere High, yeah.
So we actually have a couple of comments. Jen Langis said, "We love you, Uncle. You're an inspiration."
God, where are these people coming from?
I know. And I didn't even get to tag you. And Julie said, "Congratulations about being a Grampy again." Chris Cascio said, "Love you, Dad. Proud of you." And Julie, my friend Julie, said, "Love this. Harm reduction is so important. You are preventing deaths." And Debbie said, "Congratulations." This is Debbie. And I think Richie the Wolf signed on Greater Waltham too, because he did a wolf symbol. I don't know.
Nice.
Yeah. So harm reduction, I love that. Harm reduction is so important. You are preventing deaths. Which
You
is,
know, and like, I like to thank you guys because now you've got both of my children, my surviving children on this thing. This is unbelievable. I haven't been together with them for several years. You know, I know at the beginning we had talked about kids and family and stuff like that. You know, it was, you know, when I started to go to meetings and stuff like that, you know, I was open to do other stuff too. I was open to go to, like, parenting classes, and I'm not proclaiming to be the best parent in the world. I'm really not. And kids, I don't want you to chime in on this shit at all. But I learned how to cook, you know, I learned how to, like, you know, do the best I could. And I still, like, I didn't do a 100% job, you know, but it gave me the ability to reach out to people, to ask them questions. I've learned a lot from people that, you know, in the program and stuff that have been raising children. Cause I was a single father with, like, you know, 3 teenagers, you know, and it was tough. It was really tough, you know.
So many people, like, I know in my meetings, they've all like, you hear fathers have learned how to be fathers in the program.
Yeah.
I learned how to be a mom in the program. You know, and Mike, you know, well, you've been clean. You were clean before.
Oh yeah, way before, yeah.
See, I was not. And so you had to learn how to grow up a little bit and learn from people. Oh, this is like, I'd bring my kids to meetings and just whatever you could do, but that's an important point.
Even being in recovery and having a child, I'm like, I can't even imagine having a child while in active addiction, because I'm like, half the time I'm like, I'm a shitty father now. You know what I mean?
Oh, I
Like,
thought I was mom of the year when I was using in the parent.
I'm like, I'm falling short every day, but you know, I can't, I give a lot of credit to people who, you know, who have their kids while they're still using and then like enter recovery and then like maintain, you know, being a father or a mother. It's like that's some real tough stuff. But tell
Yeah.
us about, so I noticed, you know, doing some research on in your career and all that, you worked for CAB Health and Recovery. CAB's like a place I frequented many times. So tell us about the HIV, you being an HIV program manager over there and some of the things you implemented with CAB.
Oh yeah. All right. So like, and I started working there in '97, and I worked there for 13 years. And when I came on board, it was just like, you know, it was a bleach and teach outfit where you go out and you talk about bleach and syringes and stuff like that. Syringe exchange was, it was legal, but only in like 3 or 4 cities they had programs. So that's why, like, I also had that other job that I had, like, of distributing syringes and stuff. Um, but while I was at CAB, like, we started harm reduction groups. We started groups where we had people come in and we talk about vein care, low threshold health, communication skills, like how you talk if you get stopped by a cop or something like that. You know, you don't always have to go right to the, you know, the FU and fuck this.
Right.
And you know, like there's ways to communicate with folks where, like, you know, like you don't have to get in a battle. Like it's not a battle. Every time you open your mouth, doesn't have to be a battle.
Right.
So we did things like that. We started testing and counseling. We started doing a lot of like um, a lot of just engaging those folks in pre-contemplation. And working for CAB, I had that access to the detox. So like one thing that, you know, we started was I went out, wrote a grant. We got money to send people to detox in taxi cabs. You know,
Nice.
one-way trip, no stops on the way. See you later. You go. And you know, we started that, and a lot of the stuff that I was doing at our other organization, it would overlap. You know,
Right.
like I was doing syringes. I couldn't do that at CAB. I couldn't because it was illegal to do it, but I could do it at night. And so yeah, I did get caught doing it. They put me on trial. There was a jury trial. I was acquitted, and then a short time after that, it became legal if you were a member of a syringe exchange to possess syringes any place in Massachusetts. So like those are some of the things that we had to do as activists and through civil disobedience. Um, and at the same time, I met a dude down in Florida from Chicago, Dan Big. He was like amazing human being. And he had started the first Narcan program in the world, like really distributing Narcan.
Wow.
And that was back in '96, right? It was only doctors and EMTs had it back then. But, you know, I got to talking to him, and before you know it, I was ordering Narcan through him in Chicago, having it shipped out to Massachusetts, and we'd do distribution in Lawrence and Lowell and all these cities we talked about before. And then I got caught doing that, and I had to talk to like these board of directors at in Cambridge, and through that, you know, the 7 years we had been doing that illegally, practicing medicine without a license. Um, the organization said, you know what, that had called us, that caught us doing it at their program. They said, this is a good idea, and like I think you should, you know, speak to these folks. And we met with the health commission in Boston, and they agreed to take it on, and we gave them all our data, and they started a program in Boston. And then the state started a program the next year and funded 8 programs to give out Narcan. And we were one of the programs, you know, like, and so we didn't have to, you know, like we didn't have to like run all the time, because doing harm reduction work, a lot of times in the early days, we were running from cops constantly. You know, I was afraid to be set up. I knew somebody was going to plant something on me. I just knew it. And it was just a matter of time. So now it's all legal. And that's
Incredible.
that's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
I'm just a guy, and our organization was a small organization. But when you have the state take it over, then you can spread it all over the state. And Massachusetts has a great program. to distribute naloxone. And it's grown and grown and grown. And it's going to grow bigger through the stuff you're working on, Jessica. It's going to grow bigger.
I hope so.
So with the work you guys are doing with that new organization, so are you implementing kind of like what Mass does currently to those other states, or is it like a whole new protocol?
Each state is on their own.
Okay.
Each state is on their own. So we work with coalitions in the communities.
Yeah.
And then these coalitions will come up with strategies, and we support the strategies, and we provide money. You know, like that's what's good. I've never had money. I mean, we used to like, you know,
Me either.
beg $500 for this and 400, you know, like, and 400 million. What are you kidding me? Like,
yeah.
so we're able to go in communities and like, you know, give a community that's working on reducing fatal overdoses. We can give them like, you know, 1.3 million, you know, like that makes a big difference. And it gives you a voice in that city where you're working. So,
this is the thing that I think I told you a little bit about it, Mike. They have all different, like Lawrence is phase 2, but they have Lowell, Brockton, Plymouth,
Bourne, Sandwich.
Yep.
Bourne.
Clinton, something.
This is the meeting you told me I should attend, right?
Yes, for Lemon.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I want to check it out. For sure.
And we actually, so Hope Pelletier said we're all watching, Uncle Gary.
Oh, she's another one.
You have a lot of fans out there. Look at, you know, that are watching you and supporting you. And Linda, our team member, said, when did this study begin? Is there an end date? And so exciting, looking forward to results.
It's a 3 to 4 year study. It started
Right before COVID.
Yeah, before COVID. It started in November. All right. So like, you know, like I used to have an office in Charlestown where I used to go into. I haven't been there since March, but there's different phases. It's a comparison study. So we're doing 8 like communities or clusters of communities. And then the next stage will be like with, you know, Lawrence and Springfield and a whole different group of folks. And it should get over, I think it's 2023, I believe.
Yeah.
It is. I believe that's when it is.
That's what Julie said. She said there is an end date, I believe, 2023. And she said Roscoe and her came around when Gary came around. Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
I love Roscoe. Roscoe, is he on here?
I don't know. If
yeah, I don't know.
Julie, are you letting Roscoe watch us, or is he watching football? I don't know. Let's see. We'll see if
he must have got sick of watching the Patriots.
Who wouldn't? Man. Who wouldn't?
Yeah, but like,
and then you have someone else. Mike Langis said, "Proud of you, brother." Look at you.
He's like, yeah, Gary's a celebrity out here. I love it.
I can't believe Michael Langis is awake.
We gotta have you on more often.
I know. Look at this family support. It's incredible.
That's
incredible.
Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, like this is the stuff we can all do. You know, like I can't tell you how much time I spend up the State House, or when we used to be able to go up and knock on the doors of the senators and like, you know, introduce this stuff. You know, like the Good Sam. That's another, you know, like, and it's another project that we worked on, the Good Samaritan bill. That took us 5 years to get that passed, you know.
Wow.
But it's like things we can do. We don't have to, like, you know, like my sponsor always says, it's like a banquet. You can stop at the nut table and have some crackers and some cheese, or you can go up to the friggin' lobster rolls and the filet mignon.
Get the filet mignon. Yeah, get the filet.
And
get the porterhouse.
So, you know, like, I don't know, I just try to grab for everything we can while we're here and just push it a little forward, because like when I'm gone, somebody else is going to be there. And when they're gone, somebody else is going to be there. And that's the way it works. You know, I've walked in a lot of shadows to get to where I'm at. I follow a lot of footsteps, a lot of footprints to get to, you know, to get here. And I'm grateful that most of the time that I've had a clear head about me, you know, like, you know, I've had my ups and downs in recovery where, like, you know, like I picked up and wow, there's a kick you in the ass. Let me tell you, especially when I thought it was bad, like when I was in my 50s, you know, like I could never conceive of like being like that. Like now I can't even make it down my friggin' stairs, you know, like sometimes I can if I have to, but like, I just don't choose to do that shit right now. Like I'm having too much fun with life.
So I guess Roscoe's working, so he's not watching. And your brother said he's not working this week. That's your brother, Mike.
Oh yeah.
So he's not working this week, which is why he's awake.
Yeah, he's probably going to a fucking Ruber or something.
And then Julie said more work on the Good Sam bill too. So if you want to explain what the Good Sam bill is.
Exactly. The Good Sam bill was like, we worked on it for 2 years, and the second session that it went into, like, we approached, it was Monique Tula from Cambridge and myself and this woman, Eliza Wheeler. We approached Marianne Frangulis from Moore, and she, she joined with us, and Moore, if anybody knows about Moore, Massachusetts Organization of Addiction Recovery. They do a lot of advocacy work for people who are using and are seeking treatment or are in recovery, and they've been around for a long time. I can remember when they first started. They've been around for 30 years. They had to have been around for 30 years, if not longer. And so Good Sam was like, one time if you called up, call 911 and the cops show up, that overdose scene would become a crime scene.
Right.
Like literally
real quick.
Just step over people to get evidence. You know what I mean? So the Good Sam bill, we like in those harm reduction groups I was doing back then before Good Sam, we used to tell people if they were with somebody and they overdosed and they had to get out of the place because of warrants or something, if they could write a note like heroin overdose.
Yeah.
Right.
And people started showing up in like, Lynn City Hall in the bathroom with overdose, heroin overdose, so that stuff was working. But the only reason that person didn't stay around is because they would have been arrested if the cops came up to them, and so we wanted to have it where people could call up 911 for help and not be hassled, not get arrested, not become a criminal because you're trying to save your buddy's life. And like with drug use, the stigma that's involved in drug use is so deep, and it goes back so far. Like, our first opioid laws in the United States were passed in the 1870s in San Francisco.
Wow.
And it's all, most of it is our early drug laws were racially motivated. You could look at the laws and look at the hearings and read the language, and it was about Black men, Mexican men, Chinese men.
Yeah.
It was stigma. It was demonizing a whole crew of people.
A community.
So that's what we are. We've been demonized for years. Like, when you used to hear those stories of the guy outside the schoolyard, with a cloak and a hat and like giving dope to kids, you don't see that anymore. What you see is a guy out there with co-captain of a football team, like sharing some of his Oxycontins, that's what it's come down to,
Absolutely.
And the opioid crisis has really impacted like a lot of white folks. And if you can go back to where that happened, you can see we started to have a different approach. Oh, well, we can't arrest them. We got to get them help.
Yeah.
But wait a minute, where were you 90 years, in the last 90 years or so? Throw them in jail, lock them up, incarceration, So, like that's really what, the stuff that we really battle in harm reduction is to reduce that stigma, to like, change drug policy to where we can have some sensible drug policy where it will benefit everyone. And it won't demonize people in inner city and poor people and Black and brown people.
Yeah.
We don't need that anymore. We don't need that stuff. We need to like, educate people around drug use, you know what? If drugs didn't work, no one would do them.
Right.
They make us feel fucking better.
Right.
Whoa.
So
like really for a while, I'm telling
they do.
like I never worried about the IRS or people coming after me, when I was getting high all the time. That stuff didn't bother me, like it just blocked it all out.
You just cared about one thing.
So today I have to face all of that shit. You got to face the music, you know, like that's the way it is. You want to dance, you got to pay the fiddler. That's all, you know. And
Debbie said she picked up after 8.5 years, and she's coming up on 33 years on November 5th. So we'll have a big congratulations for Debbie. Wow, Debbie, she's been sober longer than I've been alive. That's incredible. And then Mike Langis said, Gary, you're the only person that I know that has done any traveling in the past 2 months. Ooh, calling you out. Brother is calling you out.
I know. What's up? What's up with that?
You found
hey,
out.
I mask up, man.
What?
I put the gloves on.
And then Julie said, hey,
you
Gary.
You gotta get away.
You look healthy. You look healthy. So it didn't bother. It's all right.
Yeah, you're fine. Julie said they have had harm reduction meetings now, also MAT meetings, drug users union, thanks to people like you. So talking about the harm reduction meetings they had, MAT meetings, and drug users unions. So she's thanking you for that.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, like again, it's like, you know, getting back to those folks that like, you know, like sometimes early in recovery, I was told, no, you can't even hang around with people like that. You can't even listen. And the way I look at it, I'm there for a reason. I'm there for the right reason, and I'm not there to cop dope. I'm not there to like, you know, cause havoc in anybody's community. Knock on wood, I've never got, you know, like assaulted doing my work, and I've worked in some really pretty rough neighborhoods. I've worked in all the neighborhoods around like Boston when they had like, you know, Mission Hill was active and all of that stuff. I worked over there. I've done work in Baltimore. I've been around like Chicago, and so like, you know what? It's I go to all the nicest places. A lot, you know, my brother says I travel. Usually when I go away, I'm going to like some hellhole someplace. But I did take some time off to go down the Keys and go swimming, and
you need to.
You deserve it. You deserve it for all the people you help.
You need a break.
You deserve it.
And I hid too. Believe me, I didn't hang around like crowded bars. I didn't go. You know what?
You're at the beach. You're at the beach getting
like,
some sun.
I'm dreaming of the beach.
And I thought, who's gonna like? I went out fish. I went out like snorkeling on a boat. There was only my traveling partner and the captain of the boat. There was only us three on the boat, you know. And yeah, awesome. So I do my best to take care of myself. It's about prevention, using our common sense and not putting ourselves in the line of danger. You know,
much safer than market basket.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
They would stop. It's like a nightmare in there and stop and shop. Right. So I think we have a few minutes left, Mike, right? But,
yeah, so let's
if you have any questions.
Gary, this was amazing. Thank you so much for all you do.
Incredible.
Thank you for coming on our show. Like you talked about having leaders, like you're a leader for us in what we do every day, being in the substance use field and trying to help others. So thank you for being a pioneer with this thing, especially with the harm reduction. I did have one quick question before we wrap it up, though. It's just a personal question. So was when you guys were giving out naloxone back in the late 90s, was it the same chemical makeup, and was it the same nasal spray, or?
It was the same chemical, right? It was the same thing, naloxone, Narcan, right? But we used to get 10 milligram bottles, and you had to draw it in and inject it intramuscularly. It only cost $3 for that little bottle. $3.
Wow.
And today that little bottle will cost probably about $400.
Right.
I mean,
wow.
And so that's what we're also facing. Like, you know, people, you know, like pricing things
inflating the cost. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, just sucking in the money, and it's about lives here. It's about lives, you know. Yeah, we gotta, you know, and we battle that every day. Like, I mean, I was on the phone with the Narcan companies last week, you know, trying to get a good price for you guys, you know, like, because, you know, like on the coalitions, they want Narcan. So like, you know, I'm trying to barter for, you know, a good price. And it's like, oh my God, they want so much friggin' money. But it doesn't matter. I'll be back on the phones tomorrow morning, like, you know, trying to get
amazing.
Trying to get $1.25 off. I don't know.
There you go. It helps.
So Julie just even said, we got to have you back, which I completely agree. Like, you're a plethora of information. I feel like we only scratched the surface. Like, I wanted to ask you about how you felt about, that having the what is it? The safe injection sites or
Supervised consumption facilities, yes.
Yeah.
And I was on the governor's commission last year on the harm reduction commission where we explored supervised consumption sites. I visited quite a few of them in underground ones in this country, like in San Francisco and New York and in Boston. And it's just, hey, people, we have consumption sites all over the place. They call McDonald's, Dunkin' Donuts.
Like
Any place is a bathroom, City Hall.
Yeah.
You know what? And what businessman wants to find somebody dead in blue in their bathroom,
Right.
What tourist wants to come to Boston and walk through the public gardens and watch somebody shooting dope? You know what? And again, it's just, we want to engage with people, give them some place where they can go with a little more dignity than sitting on the sidewalk shooting dope, because that's the only place they have to go. And I'm sorry, people are going to be shooting dope way after I'm dead.
Right.
It's if you want to be, judgmental about it, fine. Just arrest them all or just do this with it. Listen, I wish the woman I saw shooting dope on Albany Street, I could have said, see that door, go in that door over there. They'll give you a clean syringe. They'll watch you. If you overdose, they'll reverse the overdose. If you have any other medical problems, anything, you have abscesses, they'll take care of it for you. That's the way it should be. It's like drug users are entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness too. Absolutely. They really, really are. Just because they're down and out at this time, because we meet people at the lowest time in their lives sometimes, and it sucks. It really sucks.
Well, again, everyone.
I like to thank all the guys and gals out there that are doing that on the ground outreach and syringe exchange and knock-in stuff, and you guys that are being there to welcome some of the folks that we have. Because where do you think we send them when they say, I want to go to a detox, and they get out of detox and they come back to the needle exchange? Now what do I do? Well, you don't hang around here, pal. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? Well, I want to stop using. Well, you know what? That's when we walk them to a meeting. That's when we get them to where they need to go. They need to make that next commitment, that next step. And it's all a continuum of care for drug users. That's it.
Boom.
That's amazing. Big thank you to everyone out there on the streets and doing that kind of work. It takes.
And yourself too. Don't shortchange yourselves. You're doing great work.
Thanks, Mike, for getting people into treatment every time we call. Again, a big thank you on behalf of the Cacavaros, Carrie Ann, and Tommy for helping raise funds through the Wiffle Ball Challenge. And we're going to be setting up a scholarship again in the name of Mike Phillips. We're going to scholarship someone into sober living in his name on behalf of the Cacavaros. So thank you again. Chris Alba said, love you, Gary. And everyone's saying Gary Langis part 2, which I completely agree. Mike, do you have any closing thoughts?
No, just go ahead, Gary.
I just want to say bye, family.
I know.
It's like a family reunion. I haven't talked to that many family members in months.
That's amazing.
Just no, please call us. We're still working. We're still getting people placed. We're still offering recovery coaching. We're offering interventions. We're offering peer support. We're offering scholarships coming up. We're working on an application process. We're collecting funds. We're raising funds. We were able to give someone our first scholarship of 2020, I believe.
Yes.
A partial emergency scholarship. But it's coming. We're building. Please donate at Recovery Solutions on Venmo.
I'll figure out a way to try to get it across the screen, but I'm not that tech savvy yet. So
we'll figure it out. And please reach out. And also, Boxing for Recovery, which is a means of raising funds for our organization, is on temporary hold. We are looking for an indoor facility. So if you know anyone who has, a pretty decent sized room, half the size of a basketball court is probably all we need. So we could do our Boxing for Recovery event every Saturday. We'd love to start that back up.
Even though it's cold.
No, but indoors.
Indoors, okay.
Yeah, indoor. Yeah. So please reach out, and that's it. Have a good night and leave the world a better place than you found it.
Thank you, Gary.
Thanks, Jessica. Thank you, Michael.
Soon.
Bye, guys.